All right, greetings everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Masterful Conversations podcast, where we learn about leadership from the men who have served or are currently serving as Worshipful Master of a regular lodge of free and accepted Masons. I am Brother Matthew Wagstaff, a proud past master of Eureka Lodge number 36 out of Rochester, New York, where currently serving as our Worshipful Master is Brother Jermaine Myers. And I have the honor of serving with
I am Past Master Mark Alexander of Sons of Kings Lodge number 123, where Brother Fitzgerald Boyce II is currently serving as Worshipful Master.
We both hail from the most worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of the state of New York. We're currently presiding as our Grand Master, our new Grand Master.
60th.
Our 60th Grand
Yeah.
Master is Reverend Dr. Darren M. Morton as our most worshipful Grand Master for the most worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of the state of New York. Congratulations, most worshipful.
Congratulations.
We're looking forward to your administration and serving with you. We have a special guest today, our first past master that is
Out of towner.
that's outside
Exactly.
of the New York State jurisdiction.
Technically, he's somewhat.
Technically, I've heard the stories. I've heard the stories. I understand the backstory a little bit. You can share that by way of. We have past master Damien Jack with us today. So before we get into introducing past master Jack, we have a quick disclaimer.
The information shared on our show is intended for education and entertainment purposes. The views and opinions expressed does not represent any of the Masonic lodges or Grand Lodges that we are in. It is important that you do your own research, and if you have any questions, see the proper offices within your respective jurisdictions.
Absolutely. So with that, I have the honor of introducing past master Damien Jack. Thank you for being here on the show with us. This is a full background resume right here. Many leadership hats that past master Jack is wearing. Very humble. I will say that just from the shows that I've seen him on and different occasions. But just to give you a little bit of background. So past master Jack is a past master of Paul Drayton Lodge number 7. That's out of the most worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of North Carolina, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. He's also past excellent high priest of Excelsior chapter number 44. He is a past thrice illustrious master of Hiram Abiff Council number 3, Royal Select Masters. He's a past eminent commander of Alpha Commandery number 1, Knights Templar. He is a past commander-in-chief of Charlotte Consistory number 35, past patron of Ruth Boger chapter number 669, Order Eastern Stars, Prince Hall affiliated, past worthy Joshua of Charles E. Grier Court number 2, Heroes in the Jericho, member of Ramses Temple. He's also a fellow in the Phylaxis Society, and the list goes on and on and on. Past Master Jack, it is a pleasure to have you on the Masterful Conversations podcast, and I'm excited to hear about your leadership journey.
It's an honor and a pleasure to be here this evening. Thank you for the honor and opportunity to allow me to be here. Before we get started, want to definitely give a shout out to my worshipful master, Paul Drayton Lodge number 7, worshipful brother Malcolm McClendon, and also give a shout out to the 24th most worshipful Grand Master of my jurisdiction, the Honorable Daniel L. D.T. Thompson, where I have the honor and pleasure of serving as a worshipful Grand Orator for the jurisdiction. So definitely honored and pleasure to be amongst you, brethren, and looking forward to a great conversation.
Absolutely.
Hey, Matt, before you get started, I'm gonna give a shout out to Brother Shelton Brothers, who y'all stole from us.
Whoa!
But no,
I don't want to say.
No,
I don't want to say stole.
I'm only playing. I'm
Out the
only
gate,
playing.
smoke out the gate.
Let's call it a smoothful transition.
Just smoothful transition, in which I do appreciate, being that I was his sponsor coming into Sons of Kings. I'm glad he gave to a great lodge down there in Paul Drayton.
Absolutely, and he's doing great things, man. Shout out to Brother Shelton, man.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't know, actually, newly exalted companion.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely.
Shelton Brothers. So he's doing some great things, man.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Yes, yes. And also there's one distinction that I did not mention that I often mention for our guests on the show,
Hmm.
that Past Master Jack is also received the 33rd and last degree in the Ancient Accepted Scottish Rite. So congratulations on that as well. Just want to make sure we give you your flowers for that well-deserved honor.
Thank you.
So, with that, let's jump it right into the topic here. We talk about leadership on this podcast. We want to understand your perspective on leadership, but most importantly, understand your journey and how you became the leader that you are today. And so, with that, can you just give us a little bit of background about your journey to the East as serving as Worshipful Master? A little bit of background about the lodge at that time when you served. So, lodge size, who may have been the Grand Master at that time, those sort of details.
Yes, sir. So, I was raised in August 30th, 2008. Um, Willie A. Neal class of 2008, and from there, I always like to say when I preface this story, if you ever want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. And I say that because it was really only my plan ever to be senior deacon. When I saw the work that the senior deacon does at that time, the senior deacon was Brother Ralph Curry, God rest his soul. Um, and when he brought us through, he was the beast. Like he was the standard of what senior deacon um, would be should be in masonry. When brothers would come to a raising, they would come to see how he would do things. We called him the super senior deacon. So I wanted to do that because I knew that being the senior deacon, you basically had to stay in your ritual. You had to understand, and not just be able to recite it, but be able to understand it, and leave that impression on men who were getting ready to come into the organization. That was that was really my goal. At the time that I came in, Grand Master was Most Worshipful Milton F. Toby Fish Jr. Um, and what ended up happening was, I would say, less than about 6 months, 6 months in, the sitting junior warden at the time, he was facing some health issues, so they asked me to sit as a junior warden, during the meetings, um, basically because of um, the my blessed ability to retain information quickly. I kind of knew, the opening and closing, so I would sit there and help with the opening and things like that. And when his health got better, he would sit next to the station, but I would still sit in the south and do what needed to be done. So I was approached by the nominating committee, and I was asked at that time, if I wanted to, be, the junior warden. So I asked, what did that entail? They told me what it entailed, and I still had my sights on just, you know, being a senior deacon. So I said, what, I'll try it out, for a year, see how it works, and if that doesn't work, then I'll just go ahead and I say, I'll step down after that year and, work on being a, senior deacon. Well, it just so happened at that time, the worshipful master at that time decided that he was going to step down. So my senior warden at the time ended up ascending to the east, which left the west open. Now, this is where I call the part of my story the conspiracy, and I say that because um, my deputy, district deputy at the time, shout out to past master Charles Sharp. Him and another brother, past grandmaster James Harrell, they come to me and at separate times, and they say, so I hope to see you going for either the south, or the west. And Deputy Sharp at the time, he had said that I wasn't even like 30 days in. He's like, seeing what you do, I could see you in a couple of years, in a few years, being Worshipful Master. And I said, no, no, that's not me. That's not, that's not what I want to do. I want to do this and things like that. And he said, the funny thing about what you're saying is that you think you have a choice. And so I thought about that, and I let that linger for a minute. And so, past Grandmaster Howard was like, well, I hope to see you in one of these two positions. I said, well, I see myself, I see going to the south, but I don't see going to the west. I mean, you talk about going from, the floor to the west. And he was like, well, why not? I don't understand. I was like, cuz, I mean, going from the floor to the west is like not playing a day of football in my life, and then all of a sudden I'm playing for the Panthers. Like, how does that work? So I'm sitting in the South. We going through elections. Um, the worshipful master says that he's going to step down. The senior warden, gets nominated, elected and nominated as worshipful master. So we get to the West. So we get a brother I never forget, brother Herbie Watts, God rest his soul. He stands up and he nominates me for the West. Now this is where I say the conspiracy comes in, because the deputy, in my eyes, in any elections, you say, brother so and so has been nominated for such a position. Do I hear another? You say that 3 times, and then if not, you sound the gavel. I didn't hear that. What I heard was, brother Damien Jack has been nominated for a senior award, and do I hear another? No. Bam. So it was like, wait a minute. And the whole time now, I'm sitting in the South now, and everybody looking at me, congratulating me, and I'm just sitting here like,
And wait a minute. This is your first year in Masonry?
I wasn't even a year in masonry yet.
Wow.
Mhm.
How many brothers were in your lodge at that time?
We have maintained a roll of 100 plus.
Wow.
And we've maintained a roll of 100 plus. We get at least, I would say, at least like between 20 to 30 members um, at our meetings.
So time out. The math ain't mathing right now. Hold on, I gotta figure this out. So since you've been a Mason, your lodge has maintained somewhere around 100 brothers on the rolls,
100,
about 30
120.
brothers that show up in the lodge.
Mhm.
You just got raised from where to where, right? We know that.
Mhm.
And you're not even a year in, and someone's already nominating you to be senior ward. I need to understand, like, what were you doing to leave that impression upon them? I have to understand that. We got to peel this on your back just a little bit.
Um, so I God has blessed me with the ability to um retain information very quickly. Um, if you if you give me information and I really apply myself to it, I can learn something within a day. Um, when I was going through classes, um, I remember that that Monday night, April 21st, 2008. We were given the information. Um, by Wednesday, I knew Psalms 133. What is a Mason? What is Freemasonry? I knew it by Wednesday. So, um, just the ability to um, retain information, um, and really just coming in and doing what they ask. I remember I tried to give my first lecture. um I want to say it was late 2008, early 2009. I said, you know what, I want to try to give a lecture. I want to give a lecture on the color blue, since we always call this the blue house. Let me see if I could put something together. And I thought that uh this should be, this shouldn't be that bad. This shouldn't be easy. This shouldn't be a hard thing to do. And then, of course, you type in the symbolism of the color blue, and all of this stuff like shows up. And so I'm sitting here like, whoa, I think I bit off more than I can chew.
Mhm.
But I made the attempt. So certain things, they asked me to do, I would do. If the senior warden wasn't in the meeting one night, hey, Brother Jack, can you sit in as the senior warden? Okay. And I'm reciting it. I'm reciting the opening with no book. Can you sit in over here? And I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Um, the worst thing is when they ask me to sit as secretary, I say, yeah, I'll never do that again. But
Hey, hold
I,
on.
I give much love. Okay, since we're talking about leadership, I will say this, and we can peel this onion back later. Everybody has this thing of wanting to go to the east and be the face of the lodge, but the worshipful master is not the most important position in the lodge. It's the secretary. I'm just gonna go out and
Mm,
say that. So I I did that once, and I know my handwriting, and I know how you trying to really, how you have to pay attention to what's being said and not be involved in the meeting, but be involved in what's said so you can write. You know what I'm saying? That's a
Hmm.
tough task, because you miss so much. So I knew that wasn't going to be uh my path. Um so yeah, I mean that's where it is. So by my ninth or 10th month into masonry, I was nominated, elected, installed as senior warden. I served for 2 years, and in 2011, I was elected the worshipful master and served from 2011 to 2014. So that's in a nutshell my story of ascending to the east.
awesome. Thank you. So 3 years in the East, 3 consecutive years in the East
Hmm.
after being raised 3 years prior. Wow.
Hmm.
Yes, sir.
I don't think we're gonna beat that record on this show. We'll see. You did bring up a couple of things just real quick. I know different jurisdictions do things differently, and you talked about your super um senior deacon. Do the senior deacon deliver the middle chamber lecture in your jurisdiction? Is it a must or no?
It depends. It depends on the lodge.
Okay.
It depends on the lodge.
Yeah.
You have certain lodges that'll do it, or
Mhm.
it'll basically be taught in class.
Yeah.
So one thing that we have, and that's another thing. One thing that we have as a staple in Paul Drayton is, um, we look at those who are coming through the process, and by the time they're passed to the degree of fellow craft, we find that one special person, and that special person during their proficiency will deliver the middle chamber
Mm.
by themselves,
Oh wow.
verbatim.
Mm.
So and so my instructor, who I call my father in masonry, he'll take bits and pieces, bits from the ritual, and then he'll
Hmm.
bring symbolism, within certain things, and he'll put it together. So you're talking about, well, with his handwriting, the way he wrote, it would be about a good 24 pages. But of course, if you type it out, it's about a good 4 or 5 pages.
Yeah.
So you're talking about one person delivering that, themselves. So in my class, it was, I was the one who delivered that. So, um, and again, being blessed with the ability to retain, I received that on a Monday night. By Friday, I had it, and so it's just,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know,
Oh, yeah, you have a
going,
superpower for real.
and
Yeah.
so it's just,
Exactly.
going through the motion. So yeah, so it depends on the lodge.
Lodge. Okay. Another question, you did bring up something about a nominating committee. I never heard of that before. How does that work?
So we have a nominating committee. And so basically what takes place is, we and then the nominating committee, the chairman of the nominating committee is usually a past master. We have a past master.
Hmm.
He will um he will select his committee.
Hmm.
And usually what we do is, we will ask during the meeting, okay, if anyone has any
Mentions.
um intentions or aspirations to go for certain positions,
Mhm.
come to the chairman, fill out. We have like a little, well, we had a little form, but say, come talk to us,
Yeah.
let us know. We'll ask those who are currently serving in the position, do you plan on staying? Do you plan on moving? What is it you plan on doing? And then from there, the committee will converse. They will come up with a slate,
Mhm.
with what's been given. They'll
Mhm.
come up with a proposed slate. Um, 9 times out of 10, um, will accept the nominating committee's um, slate as
Mhm.
information only.
Yeah. Okay,
Either
I
do
got
it as
you.
information, do it as information only, or
Mhm.
or if by unanimous vote, um, you decide to suspend the rule of election and adopt a slate. And once you adopt a slate, of course, that has to be a unanimous vote.
Mhm.
If not, you have to go through the election process.
Yep.
If you adopt a slate, 2 minutes,
Fast there. Yeah.
be out of there. You know what I
All
mean?
right.
So it definitely works in other bodies. It works
Mhm.
a lot, in the York Rite.
Mhm.
Um, Within our York Rite, people move. Don't nobody really,
Stay that line like
yeah,
that.
or
Yeah.
contend or
Mhm.
contend or anything like that.
Yeah. Mhm.
Um, so yeah. So I know ever since I've been in, there's always been a nominating committee. So
Oh, interesting. I never heard of that. So it seemed like a good thing. I mean, whatever works for you is good, but that seems interesting.
Let me
right.
make this a quick
Yeah, good.
correction too.
Yeah.
The year served, you said 2011 and 2014. So you served 4 years or 3 years?
Three,
3 years. Okay.
three.
Okay.
So up until 2014.
Right. Well, so our up until 4 years ago, we used to our Masonic year used to be on a fiscal year. So
Got
we
it.
used to go from July to June.
Got it.
Okay.
So it wasn't until about 2020, 2021 that we changed our Masonic year to the calendar year. So we would have our elections in May. We would be installed at the end of June, the day before St. John's Day, and then we would move forward, you know, with the
Mhm.
with our Masonic year. So yeah, so
Interesting.
I was installed June of 2011, and I served until June of 2014.
Got it. All right. Thank you for that clarification. I figured it was fiscal, but thank you for clarifying.
Mhm.
Cool.
One of the staple questions that we have on this show when it comes to leadership is, what do you see as effective leadership?
Effective leadership goals can go a few ways. If I was to break it down into simplest form, effective leadership is the the quality of what you do and not the quantity of what you do. Um, it doesn't, how long you stay in a meeting doesn't mean that your meeting has been effective. You can be in a meeting for 2 3 hours and have done absolutely nothing, right? So effective leadership is about what it is you want to accomplish. How can you get the body who elected you to serve to see your vision, and how can you gather them together to move forward, move the lives forward. um, I've always said that I think there's three things in leadership that one should prepare for. Number one, always keep God first. Number two, know your lodge. Know your constituents. Know the strengths of your lodge. Don't, as I always like to use, don't put somebody whose strength is community service in charge of fundraising. That's not going to work. And finally, of course, have a vision. If the lodge is still in the same place when you leave the seat as it was when you got into the seat, then you wasted not only the lodge's time, but you wasted your own. So, before you get there, look and see, what does the lodge, what not only what you want to do, but what does the lodge need. And sometimes the needs are going to outweigh the wants, and that's okay. But you did what you're supposed to do. So effective leadership to me is, you know, not just getting the job done, but making sure that the lodge has an understanding of what you're trying to do. I think the biggest compliment that I've ever could have received came from past Grandmaster Thomas Caldwell. God rest his soul. He was a past Grandmaster out of the jurisdiction of New Jersey, but he lived in Charlotte for the remainder of his years. And I remember inviting him to come give a lecture. That was one of the things that I did. We since we meet twice a month, our second meeting was always our ritualistic meeting. So I would invite brothers from outside the lodge to come give lectures just to give a different perspective. So he gave a meeting one night. He gave a lecture one night, and at the end of the meeting, um, he shook my hand and he said, you run a very effective meeting. And I like how you do it. Keep doing what you're doing. And I think that's one of the biggest compliments that I ever received when I was in the East. So, stick to your agenda. Get things done. Do what needs to be done and move forward. To me, that's effective leadership.
That's cool. I definitely appreciate a effective RAND meeting. Anytime. I know I just
Absolutely.
went, which I didn't know you was in the Harris of Jericho, so we gotta do some talking on that. But I did a
Absolutely.
Harris of Jericho visit recently, um, out in the fourth district, and current, well, at the time, who was the most ancient Mason. She ran at a meeting very effectively, and I definitely appreciated that. Also, I just wanted to add on something that you said, because you said, if you leave the lodge and don't improve the lodge at all, that you're basically, wasting people's time. I just wanted to add on to that there's many different ways that you can improve the lodge. You know what I
Right.
mean? So you got to think about it kind of holistically. Whether it's, your lodge might have been short on fellowship, and you increase the fellowship, then you
Right.
brought it to a better place. If it was money, it was money. If it was community work, it's community work. So there's a whole array of things that you could do to effectively progress your lodge. So maybe
Absolutely.
focus on one of
Absolutely.
them and get that done.
Absolutely. I think one of the things that I say I was able to leave the lodge with during the time that I served. Um, Remember what I said in the beginning. If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans. I
Mhm.
only planned on doing 2 years. That third year was an add on. Now I'll get to that in a minute. So, my second year was going to be our 140th anniversary. So I had started in the first year by bringing this to the body. Hey, next year is going to be 140 years. Um, I would like to have, like us to have a big event,
Mhm.
not something, small, not something in a fellowship hall. I want it, to be a big event.
Mhm.
140 years. There's not many organizations that celebrate 140 years.
Mhm.
So, I bought that out as soon as I got into the seat. The lodge, they bought onto it quickly. We started rolling. We started doing our thing. Um, the the event went well to the point where we um when I was in well before I got in the seat, we didn't have we had a general account, but we didn't have a fundraising account. And so what we did was we had enough money where we said, let's put this amount of money over here in the fundraise and make a fundraising account.
Mhm.
That way, when we have any type of fundraisers, that money that's in the fundraising account can be our seed money.
Yep.
That way we're not, always tapping the pockets of brothers and saturating and burning out the brothers. So we have this fundraising account that'll be our seed money, and whatever we make, we take that seed money out, put it back in the account, and the rest would go into our general funds. And then we were also able to um, buy new collars and jewels
Mhm.
for the lodge. So whenever we go out in public, the officers would have
Mhm.
some nice jewels to wear. So that was part of my legacy, and that's
Mhm.
how I was able to, to lead the lodge. So
Thanks.
No, that's great. A couple of things that you mentioned when you talked about like your ascension up, and so when you were raised, it sounds like in addition to having this God given skill of being able to retain information, um, a couple of things that resonated with me in terms of you making the attempts to try to do things, sort of putting yourself out there. I saw definitely some leadership there, so I could see how brothers are like this brother's willing, brand new. He did the middle chamber as a fellow craft. He's willing to do a lecture in this space, putting yourself out there, um, and then also being ready to fill in. So again, you having that power, that ability, that God-given talent to be able to retain, you were ready to fill in into the leadership spaces when you were called upon. And so I just wanted to just kind of get some of your perspectives on when you were a worshipful master, or prior to you becoming a worshipful master. Let me just do this first. Prior to becoming a worshipful master, how did you prepare as a senior warden to be worshipful master? Did you do anything additional that you hadn't already been doing leading up to that? And then also, what are some of the areas that you focused on when you became a worshipful master?
the 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 greatest preparation that I had as senior warden was my worship master at the time. Um, Shout out to past master James Witherspoon. At the time, he was dealing with a close family member who was on his way to transitioning, and so there were two meetings where he was not present, and so I had to preside over the meeting. And so sitting in the East, the first time I sat in the East, I sat there and I was like, wow, okay, I get it now. Like this, this, this seat is hot. Um,
Mhm.
for to be looked at, to sit where you sit, and for everyone to look at you, um, and to, how can I say it? I tell anybody, you don't know what it feels like unless you sat there. You have no idea, to have the eyes on you, to have to make certain decisions. Um, and I remember they were trying to have me make certain decisions that I didn't feel comfortable making. And
Mhm.
I said, you know what, we're going to table this
Exactly.
until the worship master comes back. Let him get, you know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? But I ran that meeting. And the second meeting, um, I actually presided over doing the second degree.
Hmm.
So I actually did that degree work. And I remember there were a couple of brothers who visited from another jurisdiction. And they asked me, are you a past master? I said, no, sir. I said, I'm the senior warden. I haven't got there. Like, you sure you ain't a past master? I was like, well, last time I checked, I didn't get there yet. So that was really my biggest preparation. That was my biggest preparation. Um, what did I have? What was my vision when I got to the East? Um, Number one, like I said, doing the 140th was turned out to be very successful, and I wanted to make sure. I think past Master Alexander brought it up as far as the financial state. I wanted to. We weren't, by no means were we hurting, but there were, I think certain things that, you know, we needed to change, certain things that we needed to enforce, and I enforced that, and because I enforced that, we were able to turn some things around and have more of a profit, and um not have not necessarily say have issues, but you know um better understanding with membership when it you know what I'm saying when it came to that. So certain things in our bylaws that were there that wasn't necessarily being enforced, so I enforced it, you know, and it ended up working out for us. So those are my two main things. And then by my third year, like I said, the third year wasn't in my plan, but I was asked to do a third year, and I made my third year a teaching year. So I kind of glided in that third year to teach those who were coming behind me. Say, here, this is what you do, and things like that. And I'm very proud because one of the brothers he was my senior warden at the time, and now he is the assistant grand lecturer. We've consolidated our districts. We've
Mhm.
consolidated our districts. And before the consolidation, he actually served as a district deputy grand master. But now that we've consolidated our districts, he's the assistant grand lecturer, but he's also serving as district deputy grand high priest. So I'm definitely proud of him and the things that he's doing. So shout out to my right hand man, brother Francois Evans. So so yeah. So even but the crazy part was in my third year, we were in like we were only 3 months into the year, and one of my past masters, we call him the Godfather of Paul Drayton. He he comes to me and says, brother Jack, we may need you to do a fourth year. I said, ho ho ho. This is not a presidential run. Um, I'm good. Like this. I'm three and I'm out.
Hmm.
We gonna
Hmm.
go from there. So yeah. So that's how that worked out.
Got it.
Quick, the assistant grand lecturer, is that a district level thing or that's for the whole state?
Yeah, he's the we not say the district grand lecturer. So
Yeah,
of course you have your grand lecturer,
yeah,
and each district has their district
district.
lecturer.
Okay,
For years I have to change my wording because for years we've been saying assistant grand lecturer.
okay,
Um, but yeah, he's the district lecturer. So
district lecture. Okay,
yeah,
yeah, I was
so he's
just
the 20
wondering.
yeah, so
Mm.
he's the 28th district lecturer. Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right, because we have, of course, we have our grand lecturers, but and on all the districts, all of them are district deputy grand lecturers. That's what we do in New York.
Okay.
So they'll have a few of them or something like
Mm,
that. They usually be a head in the district, and then there'd be a few that's just working with them.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's a
mm.
little different. Mhm.
Yeah, I do want to add another follow-up question to some of your focus areas, and just for brothers who are listen to this right now that may either be aspiring to be in the East or are in the East right now, and they may be working on their first year of a 2-year term serving. I'm curious about how you spent your time. So we know we get that working tool when we're at the ground floor. Um, it sounds like masonry is a big part of your life. I would just love for you to be able to share a little bit about how you use that tool to divide your time in leadership. Because you talked about the importance of knowing your brothers. You also have, it sounds like you have a really strong aptitude and sort of bend towards the ritual and being in that book as well. So just super curious about how much you spent in masonry relative to like the rest of your outside world life. So I know you have a life outside of masonry as well. Just to give brothers some perspective on how much energy and time it may take to really serve in leadership in masonry.
So when I became worshipful master, um, I had actually just gone through my divorce in my first marriage. So um, so between 2009 and 2011, um, that's when like I joined the majority of the bodies that I'm in because I had that time because it was just me.
Mhm.
Um, so I didn't meet my wife now. I didn't meet her until um, late late 2012, 2013.
Mm.
And by that time, I was going into my third year as worshipful master. She had just became a member of the Order of the Eastern Star, Red Branch chapter number 418, where she's a past matron. So shout out to my wife,
Yeah,
Nashoda
definitely.
Jack.
Mhm.
So we started dating when I was like I said in my third year as a worshipful master. So I was in my second going into my third year as worshipful master. So from then on, she has been there for like the rest of the ride. So um worthy patron, excellent high priest, thrice illustrious master, eminent commander, commander in chief, um, worthy Joshua. Um, as a matter of fact, I think she joined HOJ before me, and I joined like right after. Yeah, and I joined a little bit like right after her. So, um, so a lot of the stuff that um, I do at work. I work third shift, so I work in a behavioral hospital. So unless I don't have patients who require much needed attention, I do a lot of my studying and working there. That's how I divide my time. Um, whenever when it comes to like the beginning of the year, especially then when I was definitely in leadership, because outside coming out of for example, coming out of being excellent high priest, I was immediately um, appointed to grand lecturer for my jurisdiction for Holy Royal Arts, and then I've served, in other grand positions. So what I would do is, when the end of the year would come around, I would um, I would sit down. Me and my wife would sit down, and I would say, okay, babe, these are the things that's gonna take place. You're gonna have your York Rite, you're gonna have your Council of Deliberation, um, you're gonna have your Imperial Session.
Mm-hmm.
These things I can make, these things I can't. I serve in a grand position, so I have to be here for this. I got do this, um, and this was like before I started lecturing and speaking, outside of
Mm-hmm.
my profession. So we would um we would go over, the schedule. I would get the green light and, let's go. Of course, putting in our time, what we're gonna do and things like that. I would, add one or two things. Um, and then as soon as I hear her say, well, babe, I thought you said, that means go sit down. So, that's when I know this ain't gonna happen. So that's how I would do it. I keep her involved, and I tell anybody, um, keep your family involved in what you're doing. Um, give them the understanding, especially when you are ascending to the east. You need to understand that um, getting to the east is more than just attending your meeting. um
Way more.
it's it's attending functions, it's receiving them phone calls,
Mm-hmm.
it is going to require time,
Mm.
and that's going to be time that you are um that you're going to be taken away, from family and things like that. So you need to have that discussion. If you know that you want to serve in the East for 2 years, sit down with your significant other and have that conversation. Hey, this is what it's going to be and things like that. If your significant other is in the order, great, because she already has that understanding. If not, then you don't need that have that long understand, that long conversation to have them understand, what's important to you, how important it is to you, and can they handle it? You know,
Mhm.
um, and because at the end of the day, I love masonry. Masonry don't pay the bills, so
Exactly.
so um, if I gotta choose between getting this overtime money and going to a meeting, I might see y'all next month. So gotta get that overtime. I don't know when it's
Mm-hmm.
coming. I don't know when it's coming again. So
Mm-hmm.
still got to keep the lights on. So you have to have that conversation. It's a must. And it's funny because I tell my worshipful master that you know all the time. I tell him all the time, hey, family first, family
Mm.
first. I tell you what's funny. This past weekend I had a really really busy weekend. So Friday afternoon I drove to West Virginia, I was their guest speaker for their banquet at their annual communication. So I drove up there, and Saturday morning I drove back down here because I had two shrine events that I was presiding over. We had a meet and greet, and we had a class reunion. That was a part of the imperial theme of recruit, reclaim, retain. So these were programs that I put together. So I came back, and so it was my plan that Saturday, run these two programs, chill out for a minute, come home and go to bed. My wife was she had her retreat for her sorority, so she was out too. And so what turned into me possibly, being out for a little bit. I was out there having a good time. My wife got home before I did. She texted me. She was like, thought you was gonna be home. I said, yeah, we out here. We having fun. Yada yada
Mm-hmm.
yada. She said, okay, I'm coming to get you. I'm on the way. So so and we live right around the corner from the temple. So
Okay.
um she came to the temple and was like, all right, say good night, let's go. I'm like, all right, hey, y'all heard the boss, gotta go. She was like, he acting like he ain't been up since 5 o'clock this morning
Exactly.
on the
See.
road, like coming home, he need to go get some rest. So
Mm-hmm.
she bought so she brought me home, and then that next day, I actually had to interview potential candidates for coming in,
Mm-hmm.
to the temple. So she asked me. So she said, what time do you think you'll be home? Which code for you need to be home at a certain time
Mm-hmm.
because
Don't stay too
I'm
long.
I'm going to do this and then I'm going to be back. So I
Mm-hmm.
said I said, well, I shouldn't be too long. So I got done with the investigations. I sat there for a minute, and when I saw she was home, all right, y'all. See y'all later. Gotta gotta go. So yeah, having that understanding, having that communication and having that understanding is very important because if not only um will your journey or will your tenure in the East be very difficult, but your home life is going to be difficult. I think one of the biggest things that we learn in masonry is the value of peace, and there's no more peaceful place than at home. And if you don't have
It
peace
should
at
be.
home,
Yeah.
and if you don't have peace at home, that's a problem. So,
Mm-hmm. 100%. One thing you kind of just led to a question that we normally ask anyway, as far as you said that you was talking to your worship master, current worship master, and asking him about family first, telling him about family first. As a past leader in all these different houses, with them, your lodge included, how does leadership show up for you as helping the worship master and the current officers and whatever the situation is to help guide them and help them out? How are you doing that?
so one night when I was worship master, I did this in our ritualistic night, and what I did was there was a particular brother who there was some gripes about as far as him, sitting in the East and saying, well, he's not ready and things like that. And I'm like, well, how do you know if he's not ready if you haven't seen him
Mhm.
in the East? So when I said that, the light bulb went off, and so what I did was I called him and I said, okay, this is what you're gonna do. I said, I'm gonna be at the meeting. I said, but you are going to come up with um, your officers, who's going to sit in the West and the South, who your deacons are going to be, so on and so
Mhm.
forth. You're going to come up with these officers. You are going to develop an agenda, and you're going to run a meeting, an entire meeting.
Mhm.
I said, my officers will be there, but we're going to sit and we're going to watch you lead. And
Mm.
so he ran the meeting, and so it was a lesson not just for him, but for me too, because as I was sitting there, we know as the grumpy old past masters, we want to stand up and say, well, when I was in, and
We don't do that in this class. Me and Mark class, we don't do that.
Do that.
Well, I don't do it either, but I know I've seen
seen it. Yeah,
we know what you mean. We know what you mean.
And I found myself, and I actually found myself in that meeting trying to run the lodge from the floor. And so I had to learn to subdue myself. So now what I do is I haven't been very I haven't been very good as far as attendance in my York Rite. I do have to get better than that. But as far as my lodge is concerned, I told because now they consider me as the godfather. I haven't accepted that role yet, but one of the things that I do is, and I told the worshipful master, I actually didn't go to about, I would say, 3 months worth of meetings, and the reason being is because I told them, I said, I need you to see what it's like to be and run in a meeting without me there and without my guidance, because there's going to be a point where I'm not there. What are you going to do? You consider me as the godfather, and I appreciate that, but now who do you see as the next person stepping up to that plate? Who's going to put in, what I'm saying, who's going to put in that work? And um I believe each of us are parents on here, so we understand that there comes a time where our kids get tired of hearing our mouths, even though we're saying things to help them. So it's so you see, here go Jack got something, Jack, he got something to say. But if somebody, if it came to somebody else, saying the same thing, so it's one of those things where I try to be quiet and speak when and speak what I need to, give certain suggestions when I need to. And I definitely learned that um, during the pandemic. There comes a time where you have to step back and you have to be silent and you have to let them experience. And like the saying goes, when a student is ready, a teacher will appear. Sometimes we have to remember that as a past master or even as a brother who has been in for a certain amount of time, you have a level of experience that these brothers haven't reached yet. And so you see it this way, they see it this way, and they haven't made that ascension up here yet. And so because of that, and it bothers those who are here, because it's like, why can't you see it? But you have to remember, it took you a minute to get here. It's going to take them a minute to get here. So you have to let them go through those experiences themselves. And when they get there and they say, hey, past master, I see it now. Okay, now let me teach you and help you understand what I was trying to tell you, and why. Now you see it. Now you see it. What are you gonna do? How are you gonna move? So that's usually what I try to do. You don't want them to fall. I try to remember, the fourth and fifth point of fellowship. What I'm saying, I try. Um, but I do, I mean, it's almost like when you let your child ride a bike. Sometimes they gotta, what I'm saying, they gotta fall so they learn how to, what I'm saying, so they learn how to get up and balance themselves. And that's, so that's what I try to do.
No, understood, understood. Definitely want to be respectful of your time, past master. In terms of the time we have together, we could probably talk for at least another half hour or hour at best here. We have a couple other questions, and then we'll wrap it up and see if you have anything for us. In terms of mentors, we like to memorialize our brothers and make sure that we give them their flowers, whether they are with us or they have transitioned. So if you wouldn't mind, you mentioned some brothers as you were talking about your ascension into the East and your journey through Masonry. Did you have any mentors in the craft that you want to call out at this moment?
Absolutely. First and foremost, my instructor, who I consider my father in masonry, past master Richard Rankin. He was my instructor when I came into masonry. I've definitely learned so much from him, going through this journey. I want to give a shout out to past master Anthony Smith. Um, when um, when I became a fellow craft, at the time I became a fellow craft, he had just came into the seat as worshipful master, and I used to watch just how smooth he was when it came to not just running a meeting, but doing degree work and um, like I remember he did the Lodge of Sorrow and things like that. And I mean, and he was so smooth, and I'm like, yeah, that's it, right there. So shout out to past master Anthony Smith. Um, I have to give a shout out to my Grand Master, the Honorable Daniel L.D.T. Thompson. Um, I remember, and also before I give a shout out to him, I have to give a shout out to um, honorary past Grand Master Robert M.L. Walker. May God rest his soul. He was another one that I called a father in masonry. Um, there was a poem, and it's still out for my good friend past Master Antonio Caffey. It's called he's out of St. Mark's Lodge #7, Most Worshipful Prince Hall Grand Lodge of Ohio.
I hope.
And he had a poem that he did years ago called "I Am Prince Hall Freemasonry," and I happened to find this poem on a website that I used to be on called Divine Nine Online, and I found this poem, and I said, "Man, I want to do this poem. I want to be able to, do this poem." And it was one reason that I couldn't do the poem, um, which I'll tell you back channel. But so I couldn't do it after I was raised, but I did it. Um, I did it immediately. I think a year later, and that goes back to another thing when you said as far as like me jumping in. It wasn't 30 days that I got after I got raised that it was Prince Hall Day, and they asked me to do the purpose of Prince Hall Day, and so that was like the first thing that I did. As a Mason out in the open. And so, I did that, verbatim, so that was another one of the things that catapulted me to where I was at. So the poem on Prince Hall Freemasonry, I did that for our Prince Hall Day. And then there was a brother who talked to our brother Walker, who was serving as the deputy grand master at the time. He allowed me to do it at the Grand Lodge, and I did it um, before Grandmaster Fitch had spoke. Most Worshipful Fitch had gave his allocution, and so from there, that just catapulted my Masonic journey. So I did that 2 years at the Grand Lodge, and then I did the Lodge of Sorrow in 2012. And Grandmaster Thompson was serving as the White Worshipful Junior Grand Warden at the time, and he sent me. I remember he sent me a card and said that there were in his 20 plus years, he's going 30 plus years now. His 20 plus years, he had only ever seen two Lodge of Sorrows that he puts as the best of all time, and that was the second one. And I'll never forget that. And at the time, we always have a breakfast at the grand a luncheon named after one of the past grandmasters, Euless and Dawson. He's passed on now, but he was alive at the time. And
Hmm.
I remember after we did the Lodge of Sorrow, I was in tears, and everything, and I had finally gathered myself together. And past Grandmaster Dawson taps me on the shoulder, and he says, uh, "Brother, I don't know who you are. Do you know who I am?" I said, "Yes, sir, I do." He said, "In all my years, that is the best Lodge of Sorrow that I've ever seen." Tears just
Mm.
started flowing again. I'm like, well, so and he sat next to me. So definitely shout out to honorary past Grandmaster Robert M.L. Walker. to my Grand Master Daniel D.T. Thompson, um, and definite shout out to right now my brother William A. Cook. He served as he was the one when he served as a Grand High Priest. He gave me my first ever Grand position in anything, and I served as Grand Lecturer. And when he called me and said that he wanted me to serve as Grand Lecturer, I asked him. I said, "Sir, I think you made a mistake. I think there's supposed to be assistant in front of that. You mean assistant Grand Lecturer?" He's like, "No, I need you to be the Grand Lecturer." So, he put me out there, and so I appreciate all those brothers for helping me get to where I am now.
Definitely. And we got to get you back on here for another one. I know you probably hear this all the time to talk about leadership in the lecture and the ritual. Um, one of the things that I just keep harping on is like the ritual is the one differentiator between us and all these other organizations. Like you can do our work at any other nonprofit charitable organization, but the one thing that separates us is our ritual. We seem to lose sight of that often when we kind of want to get into the charitable mode, and that's great. But we definitely got to get you back on to talk about leadership in the ritual and getting
Absolutely.
brothers back into the mode of that is probably one of the most important aspects of what we do in terms of learning, development, and just keeping the spirit of masonry alive. So I'll get off my soapbox there, but got to get you back on.
Absolutely. It'll be my pleasure.
Definitely.
I look forward to it.
We have one more question for you. We like to do this thought exercise as my worship master says, past masters and paid their plow on the flesh for all the sacrifices that we didn't gave, especially you didn't serve 3 years in the East. You beat us by, or both of us have 2.
Well, Mark's
well,
being humble here. He got a couple
yeah.
years.
I'm putting that, it's not on the, yeah, I'll leave that alone. But if you was to go back into the East in 2025, what would you focus on in your lodge?
Well, let's just preface this and say,
Yeah, we know.
We
not
know.
Going back.
okay. As
long not putting it out there. We just
we know this is not a thing. Hypothetically speaking,
we understand that.
Yeah, exactly.
If there was a need for me to go back, I think anybody who has served their time in the East and go back to the East, obviously there's a need that's not being met. And so whatever that need is at that time, then I would just focus on whatever that need is, do what needs to be done, and then go back and take my seat, because I've already accomplished what I need to accomplish. My vision has been met. So there's nothing more that I need to see. I think I just want to make sure that we still have that bridge between our younger members and our seasoned members. I don't want to call them older members. I call them seasoned members. Make sure that we have that bridge. That the seasoned members, understand that, it is, we brought these brothers in because they're supposed to be um, the future, but they can't be the future if we don't allow them to to utilize the things that we brought them in for. And our younger members have to understand that we stand on the shoulders of our seasoned members, and so we have to grasp the wisdom from them to know how to better move forward. So keep that bridge going. But whatever need that the lodge has that's not being met, I would focus on that. And then while meeting that need, um, teaching teaching those who come, who are coming behind me, um, how to effectively lead by serving, and understanding what the lodge needs, so that when I do come out, I don't have to be placed in that situation again. So
That's excellent answer, definitely, because that is very true for what I have seen. And when past masters go back, they go back for a particular reason 90% of the time. And yeah, focusing on that is the main thing. Past Master Jack, it definitely have been a pleasure to have you on our show, Masterful Conversations. And like Matt said, we look forward to having you back one day. Um, you have gave us a whole bunch of jewels, and I'm gonna point out a few of them before we go. One of the top one is, it's the quality of what you do and not the quantity of what you do. That's very important. And your three points of leadership is God first, know your lodge and members. And I would say know your lodge, as you talked about, knowing the members, but also knows what's going on with the lodge, whether the business and all the other stuff. That's also included in knowing your lodge. And have a vision, because people without vision will perish. So we thank you for that, Past Master Jack.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Keep doing your thing. You're doing great things, and I look forward to bigger and better things from you, brothers. This is something that's definitely needed, um, and I definitely appreciate the time and opportunity that you gave me for this evening. Thank you so much.
Certainly a pleasure. Certainly a pleasure. Definitely will be remiss if we didn't shout out some of the forefathers of the work that we do here too. In terms of when I first got introduced to you, Past Master Jack, was through the Prince Hall Think Tank podcast. So shout
Mm-hmm.
out to those brothers. Shout out to the brothers that make that possible. And so we love the
Yes, sir.
work. We love hearing you brothers out there and learning from you brothers. So thank you for that.
Absolutely. Shout out to the creator, to the mastermind of the Prince Hall think tank, past master Antonio Caffey,
Kathy. Mm-hmm.
Past master James Morgan, past master
Mm-hmm.
Dave Gillard,
Mm-hmm.
my brothers and friends. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
we are on summer hiatus. We're on vacation. But tune in September. We will be in our 10th season. And we're definitely looking forward to what we're going to be bringing to you, to the community for our 10th season. So who knew that 10 years we would be here, and it's so funny to go from a guest on the show to a panelist on the show
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
is a definite blessing. So shout out to my brothers of the think
Yeah.
tank.
Yeah. I'm
And
not surprised.
I was gonna say we'll keep the viewership warm until the tinker. We're not taking a summer break. I know last a couple of weeks we took a little hiatus. Unfortunately, I had a death in the family, and we had grand law sessions. So a couple of but Matt is on it, so we definitely on it. At where we need to be, and
Yeah.
check us out until Prince Hall Think Tank get back, and continue to watch after
Yeah.
too.
And check no. And I'm gonna say this: don't check you out until the think tank,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
check both
I know both of
both
them out
and
of
the
the same
think tank.
show. Yeah, exactly,
We gonna take
hmm
I'm gonna take it back home. I'm gonna take it back
hmm
home. Take it back to what Ace and Paid in Full said in Harlem. Man,
hmm
everybody eats. You know what I'm saying?
Amen.
Exactly,
You know what I
Amen.
mean?
100%.
So
Yeah,
yeah, there's a
you're
there's a,
right.
there's a
You're right.
lane for everybody.
hmm
This is not a competition. You know what I
Not
mean?
at all. Yeah.
Even in the field of
hmm
podcasting, there's a lane, for everybody. Shout out to
hmm
you. Shout out to the Esoteric Lighthouse. Like,
hmm
there's a
Masonic,
lane for
Masonic,
everybody. So
round table,
yeah,
Masonic round table, all of
you
them.
know,
Exactly.
Yeah.
there's a lane here where you can talk about. There's so much in masonry that can be talked about, and so the fact that you chose this lane to talk about, leadership, it's a beautiful thing. So, hey, catch the think tank one day, catch the masterful
hmm
conversations the next day catch the esoteric lighthouse.
Yep. hmm
We all here to improve masonry, man. That's what it is.
Amen. That's what
Amen.
we're here. What came you here to do? And so
Absolutely.
that's what we're here to do. Um, Past Master Jack, again, a pleasure. Can you please share you also have been able to share your vision and light and your knowledge through the books that you write. And so if you wouldn't mind just sharing with the audience is listening right now, where they may be able to find some of your literature.
Yes. My books are on Amazon, and they are on another website called the Book Patch. But anybody who is like interested in purchasing, please you can contact me at Masonic1906 at gmail.com. Once again, Masonic1906 at gmail.com. And I'll give you the list of my list of books and my book prices. I do preface that if you are not within that body of masonry, I don't sell that book to you. I keep it, to where if you're If you're in the lodge, I got, books for that. If you're in New York Rite, I got books for that. Scottish Rite, if you're in all of them, you can have the entire collection. So, again, Masonic1906 @gmail.com, and I'll get you the book list and pricing.
All right. All right. Well, there we have another episode of Masterful Conversations podcast. If you, we got a lot of gems, a lot of jewels here from Past Master Jack. Please like, subscribe. We appreciate all the positive feedback and comments that continue to come in. It's certainly been a blessing. You've been giving us your time and energy throughout these episodes that we've had. And so again, Past Master Jack, thank you for your time, your energy. I know every time you speak, you say thank you for your most precious gift, your time. Because we know we can't get that back. And so I listen definitely. And so I appreciate all that you do for this craft and all the organizations that you are a part of. And so with that, I will say for those listening, we hope again that you have had a great experience today, that you picked up at least one nugget that you will use and apply in your personal life, whether you are in the craft or not in the craft. We know that, and I want you to be reminded that leadership begins with ourselves, and it's almost impossible to lead other people if we can't lead ourselves. So spend the time, invest in yourself.
Before you sign off, I just want to give y'all a little shout out with him being alpha and you being kappa. So get that out the way. Before you
wasn't even gonna go there. I wasn't even gonna go there.
I know
today.
that, but I want to make sure you got it.
Today, but
there you go. There you go. Get it in.
There was a couple of times where I could have went there, but I appreciate it. It's all good. All love, all D9 love.
Absolutely.
So with that, to the next episode, God bless everyone.